All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Let's Talk Oconee. We got special guests tonight joining Chris and Cathy, and I'm Rannie Bond, and you are not. And by accessing or using any copyrighted material owned by Let's Talk Oconee, letstalkoconee.com, you acknowledge and agree to abide by the terms of this copyright. Let's Talk Oconee SC is a copyrighted presentation and is made available only to our viewing audience via our website, Facebook, YouTube channel, and any unauthorized copying, replaying, or any other website, social media, or YouTube without the express written permission of Let's Talk Oconee SC is strictly prohibited. The disclaimer is if you do not agree with any of these terms, please refrain from accessing or using our copyrighted materials.
So that means they get in trouble, right, Randy?
That's right, you get in trouble.
I like that.
All right, well, I'll bring up our special guests, and here we go. Chris, how's your week?
It's been wonderful.
All right. Cathy?
Wonderful.
It's all right. Yeah, I'm
right.
still here.
And this is our special guest, Hannah Lowe.
Hello.
She's become very popular since speaking at county council. She's been on shows like Vantage Point and now LTO. So welcome. We're glad to have you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me tonight.
If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in all this.
How did I get involved in all this? Okay, well, I live in Oakway. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and my time living in Florida, I lived there for 30 years, and I saw rapid change in different areas of Florida, especially in the southwest part of Florida where I went to college. When I went there, it was mostly trees and, old Florida swampland and preserves, and within 6 years, I didn't recognize the area at all. Like, it completely changed. And so I realized that if people don't speak up, then your voice won't get heard and people will just keep doing what they're doing. And so when I moved here, I had to move here. Oconee became my safe place because of the situation I was in Florida. And so when I moved here and Oconee became my safe haven, basically, I started seeing different things that I had seen in Florida. So one housing development after another housing development, and I knew what was about to happen if nobody spoke up. And I was always told, my grandma always said, if you don't vote, you can't complain.
Right.
So if you don't speak up, you can't complain that stuff is happening. So I decided one day, well, I might as well go say something.
Right.
And I might as well speak up, and knowing that I at least try to make a difference, because I believe that without the environment, without nature, without clean water, clean air, we cease to exist. Without fertile soil, we cease to exist. Without farmlands, we have nothing to eat. If we keep importing our food from other countries, that's not a good thing either. So I figured somebody needed to at least say something.
So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. So basically, you're talking about being self-sufficient, right? A country being self-sufficient.
A country being self-sufficient, yes, and individuals. There's a lot of individuals now that I personally know that are trying to make themselves more self-sufficient so they don't have to rely on other people.
But if you're talking about regular people
Yeah,
living
regular.
in, okay.
But also the
hold
country.
on. Let's keep going a little bit with her. So what do you do now?
So now I'm an ER nurse.
Okay.
So I do that, and then my husband and I also own a small farm. So we have cows, chickens, donkey, horse, that kind of stuff. And we're slowly but surely growing. We're reestablishing the family farm that was originally established in 1855 from his family. So we're doing that. And so I personally am trying to go back to the land. Yes, I am from Miami. Yes, I did live in the city, but I realized the importance of being able to know how to grow your own food, knowing how to preserve your own food, knowing how these things work, understanding the science behind how important your soil is instead of keep stripping it. So I have my compost bin, I have my chickens, I'm learning how to can, I'm learning how to freeze dry, I'm learning trying to learn all those different skills because those skills are very important. I'm also dabbling in as an ER nurse, I do know people that do use Appalachian mountain medicine.
Yeah, I was
to
gonna
help.
ask you about that
Yeah.
and how your thesis has
So
gone.
I presented to get my bachelor's degree in nursing, which I just achieved within the past couple
Congratulations.
weeks. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I had my ADN, but now I have my BSN in nursing. My project, my change project, was how to be a culturally competent nurse to the Appalachian people, because I realized the people in this area, from what I see from people moving in, they're not appreciated as much. Their culture is not celebrated. The way that they've been living all these years is kind of being pushed to the wayside because of all the people moving in here. My husband is Appalachian, so his family, I think it was his great grandma, I believe, was like basically the granny witch of Oakway. So there's still those traditions that are in that area. And I believe in, I believe that you can use Eastern and Western medicine and mountain medicine, but you have to see how they work together. One way, either way, to me, I'm not a doctor,
Yeah.
is not good. And I believe in exercising, eating right, all those different things are a way to heal yourself, not just always taking medicine prescribed by the doctor.
Right.
Yes, it does help. Don't get me wrong. I am
Yeah.
an RN.
Yeah.
But there are also other ways to.
Well, there's science behind
There's
a lot
science
of-
behind
a
it.
lot of it, yeah.
So mine was learning about that Appalachian culture. Well, why do they do what they do? Yes,
Right.
they also speak differently compared to like Florida. I speak different than my husband
Right.
speaks. He has that old mountain talk to him. He
And
has
you go
that
30
thick
minutes
accent.
in one direction, the
Right.
dialect's different than
Right.
than
He
it
has
is.
that thick accent. And so understanding where they're coming from and not just saying, oh, well, what are you doing? Why are you doing it that way? Like, why
Yeah.
would you do that? Is a way to connect with these people,
Mm-hmm.
connect with their culture. Because if you want everyone to learn about everybody else's culture, you also need to learn about the culture of where you live.
Right.
And the precious people that are here, that have been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's a reason why they do what they do.
Right, and I think that that's important. I grew up in the middle of Appalachia, and it was like you got a cut, you rub honey on
Right.
it. You didn't go to the doctor for deep cuts.
So obviously something worked because you're
Right.
still here, right?
And there was all
Turpentine.
kind of
Turpentine was the big cure-all.
and mercurochrome and charcoal
Right.
and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that was, but and as an ER nurse,
Yeah, I see it
that's
every day.
here. I'm
See it
sure
every
that you
day.
see folks that wait till the absolute last minute they're about to die, and have tried every home remedy
Yes.
they could. And sometimes that's probably causing more problems. Sometimes it might cause problems,
Right.
and not good. So I
Right.
think that I was very intrigued by your thesis and how you try to put that together. So I thank you for doing
You're
that
welcome.
to show people that it can work.
It can work. And even when I triage people, I say, okay, did you take any medicine at home? And then I say, did you take any home remedies? Did you take any herbal remedies? Did you
Yeah.
take anything like that? Because some of that stuff can interfere with the medicine
Right.
that we're trying to give or trying to cure. And so if you have more information, like I was able to go to a doctor or a provider and say, hey, this woman has this type of remedy on her, right? And they were like, what are you talking about? And so I was able to connect that provider with that patient. So when they went into that room, they knew what they were about to see. They understood, and I was able
It'll
to
absolutely
explain to
interact
them.
with-
yeah,
yeah.
I was able to explain to them,
Right.
hey, this is what this patient has been doing because of these reasons. And the provider had no idea, but I was able to make that connection so that patient was actually able to be treated properly instead of being like, ugh, why would they do such a thing?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people from outside the Appalachian Mountains don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and
Well, they think
so-
it's kooky.
But there's a whole lot of people moving here.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think with the influx of people moving here, they're going to find an Appalachian friend.
Yes.
And they're going to be like, hey, I know your diabetes is this. Well, why don't you
Right.
take this or that?
Yeah.
And then you get to something goes wrong. Everybody needs to be able to communicate.
to understand what's going on.
Right. So-
And even now, with everything happening in the world, people outside Appalachia, I've been to workshops so I can learn and understand. People outside Appalachia are starting to use these remedies because they're not trusting
Right.
the healthcare system.
Oh yeah.
So I thought it
Well,
was
but
pertinent
you
to
can't
start
afford the
understanding,
healthcare
or you
system.
can't afford it, which
Yeah.
even I can't afford. I better not go to the ER because I can't afford it.
Well, I mean, even people
And
with
I work there.
insurance, they have $40, $50 copays just to go see the
Yeah.
doctor. So I mean, you have to weigh that. That's a tank of gas.
Right? No, absolutely. I mean, everything.
Is
Obviously,
this
the
cold
prices.
bad enough to?
Right. So that's what my paper was about, or my project, and also like the education level of some of these people worked so hard at a very young age that they were unable to get formal education. That doesn't mean that they're ignorant, because they're very intelligent individuals. But sometimes you have to bridge that gap of, okay, well, maybe, like, I've met people that have told me, I'm sorry, I can't read that. I don't know how to read. I was never able to learn. My education is third grade. That does not mean they're ignorant, right? Because they worked in those factories, they worked in those mills, they picked cotton, they did all these things. But we need to be able to bridge that gap in healthcare so we can treat more people properly, so we can understand what's actually going on.
Right.
Right. Well, I want to segue into last Tuesday's county council meeting. You were there.
I was there.
It was supposed to be a public meeting to tell us all about Sewer South, right? What did you think did you get anything out of that meeting? Did you have more?
I got, supposedly they don't want urban sprawl, but I don't know how they're going to stop it.
Right.
That's what I got. Did I get a direct answer of this is where our money's going, this is our plan, this is this? No, I didn't get that. I got I don't want urban sprawl, which is great because I don't want that either, but how are you going to stop it once it starts? What is your plan to say this is all we're doing and this will never be moved anywhere else?
Right.
But it's already there. It's already
Yeah.
happening.
Right.
You're
They're
saying
not
that?
willing to do anything to stop it.
Right.
No, that's the problem.
They're just
Zoning,
kind of throwing up their
planning.
hands and rolling over. I can't help
So
it.
yeah, and so you have a farm. How many
I do.
acres do you guys have down there, if you don't mind me asking?
We live on, the family farm is like 116 acres.
Right. So what happens if a subdivision comes in beside your 116 acres that has 400 houses in it?
I'll be mad.
But
Pretty much.
How would that affect your farm?
Well, one of the ways it could affect our farm is that people moving in here, some of them do and some of them don't understand farming. So when I have a chicken or a rooster crowing, they'll be like, well, what is that? Or if I have a cow that jumps a fence, because cows break fences, unfortunately, it happens, and you have a cow standing on your front porch, or you have a goat standing on your front porch, people are going to be like, what's this? Well, what are these noises? Oh, yeah, well, why are my animals trying to reproduce in front of my kids? Well, this is farm life.
Right.
This is farm life.
And they were there first.
And we were here first. We were established here in the farms around Oakway. We were here way before your housing development was here. We're here trying to produce food for you to eat and consume and have nutrients, but you don't want what it takes to live next to what it takes to put that food on your plate.
Well, the other thing too is how well do animals do with lights and city noise?
Well, since I live where I live, we have cars going up and down my road at 60, 70 miles an hour. So they're pretty used to, at least in that section, they're pretty used to having cars there. But at the same time, like,
my husband's
peaceful.
cousin, and the reason I ask is in York County, South Carolina, and I've on the show invited people before to take a little day trip and go down there and see what's happened down there, because that's where we moved from, has grown up. And he had people build up around him, and he had chickens and some cows and some animals. And what happened with them, they had a golf course move on one side, and I believe apartments on the other side, and Walmart on the other side. And chickens stop laying eggs when you get all
That's
those
true.
lights, and
They get stressed.
animals just stop doing things when there's too much light and noise and stress.
So let me ask a question. So Hannah, when you went before the council, what was the point you were trying to get across?
So I was trying to make a point. There's a couple points I was trying to make. One, I wanted them to really think about what they were doing. I wanted them, a lot of people, I've heard it said time and time again, well, that'll never happen in Oconee. That type of city you're talking about will never happen in
Do you
Oconee.
feel they were listening?
I don't know.
You know,
I don't
because
really.
you know they're against zoning and planning, right?
I do know. I didn't know it then. So when I went up in front of the council, I didn't know anybody on that council. I didn't know. I didn't know. I just felt like I needed to say something. So I didn't know about the zoning. I didn't know about anything else except for the fact that I wanted to stand up and protect the environment, protect the water, protect the air, protect the soil, talk about the farmland that was, unfortunately being destroyed, talk about where our food comes from, that it doesn't come magically from a grocery store, because I know children that have no idea where their
Okay,
food
so when
comes
you
from.
talk about that, though,
Yeah.
you're basically talking about planning for that and
Mm-hmm.
zoning. For an example, when you got your farm, right?
Yep.
You're probably in an unrestricted area, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so if you're in an unrestricted, and Randy's making a good point about these subdivisions,
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to happen.
Oh, I know. Now I
And-
know that.
Right, right. So when you talk about that,
Mm-hmm.
like for an example, when you look at the body language, and when I'm talking, like when I was talking about the jobs, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't believe what they were saying, and I was talking about, if you want the companies to come into
Mm-hmm.
the top tier, you got to make sure you at least have an evolved area from a perspective of equality or whatever. But when you're going up there and you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about the farms, the thing that bothers me the most is they don't care.
Well, see, I was so nervous, I didn't know what they were doing. So
Okay,
honestly,
but you-
I wasn't
but
even
you've
really
talked-
looking at
but
them.
you
I just
talked-
wanted to talk.
But you've talked a couple of times.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so now you're not so nervous. The point is, what do you suggest we do?
It's a very good question, and it's it's what I would want to do, and what's actually going to happen are two different things. And then, of course, people have things against zoning and saying, oh, well, you must be this or that because you want
Well,
to
yeah,
protect
no,
the farmland
right.
and protect the nature and protect the trees. I've been called a tree hugger so much in my life, I take it as a compliment now.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's way worse things to be called.
I mean,
Or they call you a communist.
Or they call you
they're
communist, or so,
Marxist.
which I am totally not. I am for preservation. I am for stewardship of the land. I am not for destroying, like I said when I spoke earlier. As a Christian, I believe I'm supposed to steward the land that I believe God gave us, not to keep destroying it for personal gain of just greed and money. He gave us this land to steward it properly.
Right. So basically, this majority
Yeah.
up there that basically, if they're talking about any planning, and they're
Yeah.
talking about something like United Nations Agenda 21, and the United Nations Agenda 21 has to do with developing countries,
Hmm.
with sustainable environment, water, food, so they don't have to depend on other countries.
Right.
So when we talk about zoning or planning in this county, those
Mm-hmm.
three up there are saying, well, that's communism. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
to me like you want United Nations Agenda 21, which is pretty crazy, right?
Well, actually, I don't. Until you said that, I didn't know what United Nations 21 was, so
Well,
I'm
that's
not
what
even
it
gonna
is.
lie.
I posted it. It's in it's
Yeah, that's what
on
it
our
is.
page. You can
Okay.
scroll back and read. It's like 321 pages. So I really doubt that any of the guys that keep talking about it
No.
have read
Yeah,
it.
But I gotta tell you, UN Agenda 21 sounds to me like a whole lot like Oconee County Council Ordinance 2024-10, and we're going to talk about that
You want
coming
to
up.
talk about that now?
Well, not yet, because she's brought up a lot of things
Okay.
about farming and stuff. So I think I'd like to go into the chicken ordinance
Oh,
first.
the chicken ordinance. I read that.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
don't
have
even know
more
what
than
they're
3
talking
chickens,
about.
I can tell
he
you.
said they had nothing to do with it.
So they didn't.
Who did?
Probably someone
There
that
was
moved here.
a lady from District 5 over in Bayshore.
Oh, it was the lady that
Mm.
stood up and spoke.
Yes, from
The same one.
Right, from
from
District
Oh,
5.
dear.
From
Glen,
Harts.
Glen Hart's district.
Oh,
Okay.
dear.
They do not want farming in Glen Hart's district because his constituents are coming up there with a 3 chicken ordinance
They probably.
and presenting this thing to the county.
3,
3 female
Mm-hmm.
chicken ordinance.
no male.
no male, no
There'll be-
roosters.
There
'cause
will
they
be
make
no
noise.
cocks in District 5.
Wasn't it for the whole county though?
Well, yeah, but
Wasn't it-
but
yeah.
it came out of District 5.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and
but it's just
We
a,
have
it's,
chicken
it's just
farms.
a citizen,
Well,
right?
that was for people
So-
that didn't have the farms, just personalized backyard chickens.
Right. So the problem is, and this is where when folks move in here and they come from places that that are crowded. It's not urban sprawl. It's just urban, right? And a lot of these cities, and when I lived in San Antonio, they had a 5 chicken ordinance. You could not have a cock because cocks make noise.
Mine makes noise.
every morning,
It sure
multiple
does.
times, right?
Sure does.
And a lot of people sleeping, they don't want to hear that.
Listen.
Now,
Well, I don't think
Let me,
that's got
let me,
much of
let
a
me
chance
just
because you can't
interject
even do it
for
with a
just
gun
one
range.
second. Until you take care of all these loud trucks and motorcycles and stuff and enforce the noise ordinance inside city limits,
right.
I don't want to hear anybody complain about no chickens.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This came out of District 5. And then in Walhalla, there was also a chicken ordinance problem. In the Mill Hill over there, they were getting kind of crowded with chickens. And Grant Keene and a couple of those guys had to stand up for the farmers in Walhalla.
Well, I told you about that mean rooster on the back street.
And
Well, you know what happens with a mean rooster, don't you?
Yeah, make dumplings.
Yeah.
But
He fights bumpers of cars, I'm telling
But
you.
when we have this encroachment around farms and around rural areas,
It's happened
folk-
time and time again in
you
Florida.
know, this lady, when she came and spoke, she's like, these chickens were in the road as I was driving out of my neighborhood, and that's a problem. You've got to keep your chickens put up. You know, well, she's just never been to the country before.
And then people have to keep the dogs up and their cats up, and it'll be anarchy. I mean,
Well, they didn't even want, I think I read it, they were even regulating, she wanted to regulate like how big your pen was and how far it was away from this, and no roosters, and you could only have 3 hens, and they could never be free range chickens, they always had to be in a pen.
Right.
If I read
sounds
it
like a
correctly.
pretty miserable life for the chicken.
Well, that's the point of bringing urban and agriculture together. You're going to have those boundaries that get overstepped, and this is farm country. We're not going to put our chickens away. You know,
You better,
This is
you
not
better
gonna
have a
happen.
plan if you
Listen,
come take
the
my
back
chickens.
street rooster will not have that.
Right.
Yeah, but
He's not going to like that.
you're going to create conflict. Is
Oh,
what it is.
Well, of course there's
And
conflict.
it's already conflict.
I dare
But the
somebody.
I mean,
thing
if you, because
I dare
here,
somebody to
here's
go catch that rooster.
But here's the thing, Chris. If you're coming down Barnes Road and you swerve to miss the phallus with honey on it, and you smack a chicken with your electric car, it's going to tear that car all to heck. And so that's the problem: is the electric cars are not F-250s.
Well, I hope they're okay with importing chicken eggs and stuff.
Well, that's when you bring things together.
You know
You
what-
bring folks in here
For
from
people who are against like Chinese companies coming in here, they
Thank you.
sure seem to be okay with Chinese food coming in here.
well.
You know, Smithfield, that's owned by China.
It
There you
sure
go.
is.
Yeah, Smithfield's owned by China now.
All
but the
that
thing
pork
is,
is
during
Chinese food.
during World War I, the government actually wanted people to have their own backyard chickens. They said have 2 chickens per family member.
Well, there's this one councilman.
So you had eggs.
This one council person that wears a hat kind of like mine, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he had a victory garden,
Oh.
and that was because there was a civil war in Oconee County last year, and
He had a
Oh, here's
Yeah.
here's a good idea
Who was that?
from a very
Who was that?
from a very smart listener. It said proposed solution: a
Sure.
program to certify laying hens as emotional support animals.
My chickens are they're my emotional support.
Emotional
So-
support animals. There you go, folks.
I've
them
I've
certified.
actually got a
There you go.
device that fits around my chicken that I can put them on a leash and walk them.
Are you
there you
serious?
go.
Yeah, it's got
There you go.
pineapples
They're
on it.
your emotional support animals,
Yeah,
and
I
nobody
was,
can touch
I was
them.
going to bring it to a county council meeting when.
Well, how many chickens do you have?
So I've got one.
You got one chicken?
Very large cock, and he's got 5 hens.
Okay, see, I got 4 right now with one rooster.
Okay, so when you look at this is
I want
like
more, though. Chicken
this
mash.
this is a citizen that's talking about. They won't
No
zone.
fertilized
They
eggs,
won't
so small.
zone anything or plan anything in this county. So somebody's coming. I look at that and like you're talking about chicken shit. We can't get anything done around here. Look at the gun range, right? You
Well,
got a
well,
gun
well,
range
let's-
that
let's
you're
ask-
moving it
let's-
into court, right? I mean, it's crazy.
Well, let's ask Canada this.
What?
So you have cows.
I do.
You have horses.
I have 1 horse right now.
Okay. A gun range moves in next door to you.
yeah, what are you going to do then?
How will that affect your farm?
Well, it'll bother my mental health having
Yeah.
a gun range next to me. I'm not against guns, I just don't like the noise of them.
Because
But-
Well,
the-
there's one right up the road. You know that one, the gun range up in Salem.
Yeah.
The right, and the
I mean,
homes
and
were
then
there
if they
before.
miss shoot, they could shoot one of my animals. You know how much a cow is?
Yes.
Cows are
Yes,
very
they do.
expensive
Right.
animals.
Well, I don't know how much they are.
So you think there ought to be
at the
restrictions?
market.
So do you have milk cows or do you
I
have
have beef cows.
beef cows?
Yeah, beef cows.
So
You know those
think there
nice
should be
steaks, Charlie's?
restrictions?
This is very hard because an individual in my family has opposing views to me, but that's okay.
The what?
My husband has opposing views to what I have, so it's okay though. You know, you have good conflict. Good conflict.
Well,
but
we have
I-
opposing views
yeah,
here, and that's what makes
that makes
everything
it
here
interesting.
better.
So I think I don't want to restrict people from everything they do because then you'd just be a communist country, right? But at the same time, there should be environmental safety holds as of like, if you're going to tear this down, you need to plant more trees. Or if you're going to put a housing development, I don't want them so close next to each other you can't move. I
Okay,
don't want
so you're
lights
talking
up.
about planning and zoning.
Yeah, I don't want lights going up so I can't see the stars.
Right.
Okay.
I'm
So
with you.
I want areas. I don't like where it is in Miami where you have overpass over overpass over overpass, and now that
Been there.
Miami's basically all filled up, they were like,
Right.
oh. Well, maybe we didn't do it right, and we just let everybody build everywhere, and
Yeah.
not. Miami used to be. My family back in the day had a 160-acre farm in Miami back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't need more, do you?
No, not anymore. No.
Okay.
We weren't meant to be rich. You know what I mean? So we don't have that anymore.
So here's the thing. Everybody dances around the words planning
Yeah.
and zoning. Everybody does. Well, I don't
See,
wanna
I would like an
restrict it.
agricultural
Well, wait a minute.
stone
Let-
that
let-
would keep
let-
my farm safe.
Let me finish.
But-
Let me finish. So what happens is they don't want to because they're afraid of ruffling some
Yeah.
feathers when it comes to zoning and planning.
Right.
So as a consequence,
Right.
they do want zoning and planning when they start talking.
Right.
It just depends. They want to go just about an inch. And it's like, well, I didn't think about this. So at the end of the day, what you should be doing is wholesale planning as it comes to an entire county and logically look at the layout geographically like in your area. Okay, if you have a farm there and you're producing or whatever, how do you get around the thorny issue around food production and animals to protect you from a gun range going
Yeah.
in there, right? Those
Well-
are hard choices.
Well, here's the other thing too, though. What I understand is that you have a good bit of farms down in that area.
You do.
But the farmers don't agree on what kind of zoning.
Yeah.
So they can't get together
Mm-hmm.
on what they want to go to the county and say, this is what we want.
Because-
That's my
Well,
understanding.
Or what about conservation easements
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that your farm is always going to be a farm?
Mm-hmm.
We had a council person that verbally and viciously attacked several people about conservation easements, saying that a conservation easement actually hindered his children from buying that property and developing it in the future and following their dreams. So why, I don't know why that guy felt that way, but conservation easements for farming sound to me like a great way to make sure that your farm from 1855 is here
Right.
in
That's
2155.
That's one tool. But here's the thing. The four people sitting in this room, we're smart, we're educated, and I'm making suggestions, whatever. You know there are people out there that work on urban and the type of planning that we have around city, town, small. I mean, they're professionals. They've done it around the country. They've done it around the world. They could talk about, okay, here are all the tools that we could use. Here are the plans. We've seen it, whatever. But we won't do that here. And the problem people have is everybody says, well, we do have it. We just do it from the bottoms up. Oh, really? Okay. You know what bottoms up zoning is?
I do not know.
That's
actually.
like your neighbor, and you get together like, hey, listen, why don't we go ahead and zone this?
Okay.
let's protect
Yeah, I was
it.
talking to.
yeah, that doesn't
So,
work.
but how many places have you been to where you understand what that even means, the impact to the entire county? So those are the types of things we're talking about. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody's talking about taking anybody's property rights away. What we're talking about doing is trying to split the baby in the middle so we can do something where you can prevent this urban sprawl that you're talking
Well,
about.
the biggest thing about planning, and the reason planning is important, is South Catherine Street in Walhalla has changed like 4 times in the last 10 years. Is it one way? Is it two ways? Is it this way? Is it that way? Walhalla was improperly planned for the kind of growth that's fixing to come. And then they changed Main Street from a 4-lane to a 2-lane, and it's a mess. If you get there at the wrong time, you hit every light in town.
I mean, you're gonna have. I drove through Clemson today, and I was like, this is gonna be Oconee. And then Clemson's going to be like Anderson, and then Anderson's going to be like Greenville soon. And I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Well, we're going to have.
It's creeping.
I mean, they put that one housing development on Wells Highway that I know is coming in, and then I saw all this dirt getting piled up on the other side of the road, and I'm like, well, this is about to be another housing development. And every piece of land that's open is going to be a housing development where you put in all these people, but then you're not fixing the infrastructure of the roads where there's potholes everywhere.
Right.
You know, you're not fixing the school issue. I know right now where my dad teaches in Miami, they put all these schools in this one section on this one road, a university, a high school, and a middle school. The congestion there is unfreaking believable. And they're like, oh, wait, we didn't plan this right. So now they're trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Who wait a minute.
A big
They're
old
trying-
Band-Aid.
Yeah, they're putting Band-Aids
Wait,
over
you're telling
Band-Aids.
me that there's a Woodruff Road in Miami?
Wait a minute.
Unbelievable, I know, right? Now they're like, oh, this
Wait.
is probably not great that we did this.
Who's paying for that?
Probably the taxpayers.
No. The tax.
The taxpayers are
Well,
paying
so
for.
you can look at Clemson. You can look at Clemson and go back and look at over at UGA and see how UGA has eaten Athens
You know, I was talking.
over the past 30 years, and that's what's happening in Clemson.
I mean, Clemson is. Oh my God, I don't go there unless I have to.
I was talking to a guy. He's about 80 years old, and he said that back in the 60s, he submitted a plan for Miracle Circle to actually have an up and over as part of the bypass on where 28 comes to there, and it was never done anything with. So
We need a parking garage. Hey,
you go.
so Randy, you know, what,
All right.
we're hitting
Alan
on
don't like
something
that.
that's important to everybody.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what you're gonna find around here is people will realize what happened when they see it. And the types of things that you're seeing right now, that's nothing.
Hey, I've got a couple
2 years.
PSAs that we got to do, and then when we come back, I want to talk about the Habitat for Humanity
Yes.
development, at Seneca
Seneca
Creek development,
Domestic
violence in Oconee County, and some stuff with the Humane Society. So let's go to a break real quick, and we'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Substance use disorder and addiction is so isolating. And so, as a Black woman in recovery, hope must be loud. It grows louder when you ask for help and you're vulnerable. It is the thread that lets you know that no matter what happens, you will be okay.
When we learn the power of hope, recovery is possible. Find out how at startwithhope.com. Brought to you by the National Council for Mental Wellbeing, Shatterproof, and the Ad Council.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips that you plan in advance, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends for which you make a group chat 3 months before so that nobody or anything is missing? Or your daughter's first birthday party. You planned it with such dedication that instead of the first, it felt like our 15s. The same way you plan each detail for those moments. Start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We all make promises, big and small, tested over time and distance. tried by circumstances and decisions.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I do solemnly swear to bear true faith and allegiance.
To help you when you're in need.
To tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
To be considerate and caring, courageous and strong.
For better.
For worse.
In sickness and in health.
To love and cherish.
To be your loving, faithful friend.
Partner.
Child.
Parent.
Neighbor. One of our most important commitments is to support our nation's veterans. Learn how you can help a veteran going through a difficult time by visiting maketheconnection.net.
Been watching.
All right, we're back. So, if you guys been watching Facebook this week, there's been a lot going on the Journal page. A little bit going on with the bus stop in Seneca too. A lot of people have a whole lot to say about things that they don't like in Oconee County, but very little about what they do like. So, Habitat for Humanity is going to create a 27-unit subdivision in West Union. And there was 180 negative comments about a Habitat for Humanity subdivision in West Union.
Because they don't think that low-income people deserve to have a decent home, right?
The stuff they said.
Yeah, but it wasn't negative. It was ugly. Like,
yeah,
we're going to give them to the illegals. Hey guys, when you look at this, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about when it comes to Habitat for Humanity, what it means.
If people understood how Habitat for Humanity works, they would shop in the thrift store once a week.
I actually volunteered for Habitat for Humanity.
Right. It's a great thing.
I did. We did in college, I went for a week to Connecticut with my Christian group, and we volunteered our time in the Restore. We volunteered our time helping with a house. We did all of that.
Well, I think you brought up a big
The
point.
university builds a Habitat house every year.
So there's 147 churches in Oconee County, and every one of them, their biggest deal is missions. Go somewhere and help somebody else. But how many of them have missions right here in the county to help people
Very
in the county
few.
that need help? You know, there's very few. But I tell you what, Community Tree, that Charles Mulvey is doing a great job helping the community.
Yeah, he is.
Habitat for Humanity is doing a great job helping the community.
But talk about what these people. In fact, I'm going to be doing an interview with the leaders of Habitat and some of the homeowners. But talk about what it takes for these people. It's not like somebody goes out there and build. I was building houses in Florida with Habitat for Humanity, and I met one of the homeowners, and she came in and she had her kids, and she had a tool belt on, and they were cheering her on, and then she started crying. "Oh, this is going to be my home." I mean, it really got to me. This woman had never had her own home, had worked hard, had qualified for her mortgage within there, And I look at that, and I see these people posting this shit on Facebook about, give it to illegal, they don't do, and I'm like, I would take one of those people and put them and have them as a neighbor before I'd ever have one of these other, well, I don't think I can say asshole on the air, but one of those people, right? Oh, I can't say one of those
If the shoe
assholes
fits,
that writes
man,
that
if the
ugly
shoe
crap
fits.
about people.
Well, that's the thing. They have to do 250
Yeah.
hours of community service
And these people
to help
that say
build
that
their
never
home.
would have done that.
And they have to go to work at the Restore, which is like the Habitat for
Right.
Humanity thrift store. They
Yeah,
have to go to
they have
financial
to
classes.
help build other houses.
And they've got to pay. And here's the thing: it's their house. They have a mortgage. It's an interest-free mortgage, but still a mortgage, and they still have to pay property tax. So now they're taxpayers too.
Oh, they have to pay the mortgage insurance too, which
And
is kind of a
mortgage-
ridiculous. If
Well,
you have a traditional mortgage, you don't have to pay the mortgage insurance, so their mortgage payment is more expensive
Right.
because of that insurance. So it's pretty rigorous
get
and
the
difficult to
20%.
get a Habitat house. They're not just out here passing them out. So
But the people that were saying that awful deplorable stuff.
Are probably good Christian folks that went to church this morning.
Yeah,
Shame on y'all.
It's terrible. It's just absolutely terrible that a group is doing something great for the community.
It just shows their character.
Well,
that's all it is.
But here's the thing. Is a lot of the folks that were saying this stuff are slumlords.
I wish I'd get.
They want
a house.
They want to keep these folks poor and renting off of them so that they're making money off of a crap hole house. And these folks
Potter's Field. It's Mr. Potter.
But I've seen these homes for Habitat for Humanity 15, 20 years down the road. You know what? The original owners still living in them. They're taken care of. They look good. The yard's kept up. It's very pleasant neighborhood.
Well, there's already a Habitat neighborhood in West Union. I don't know why everybody's pitching a fit, but there's already one over there, and it's a nice little neighborhood. I mean,
right.
So what's the big deal, y'all?
But we'll embrace a 840 or 1934 home development that's coming in off of 130 and try to figure out how to make the dams work and expand the roads to make that happen.
Yell and scream so we don't have any kind of zoning so that we can have a compound with rats and roaches and Lord knows what else getting on everybody else's house over there. Over there on the Mill Hill. You know, so that it's trashing up everybody else's house around it, and they can't have a decent place to live.
You know why?
But you'll fight for their right to have that because you can keep your property any way you want to, no matter what kind of health hazard it is.
You know what?
Brilliant. Brilliant, guys. That's brilliant.
The thing about it is, what people will accuse us of doing is, oh, you're just as bad as these people in the OCC. No. There are people that just
I don't even know that I didn't read all of it. I don't even know that it was OCC commenting. I'm just talking in general.
Live to tear people down, right? You've seen it, and that's what we oppose, no matter where it's coming from. We call it like it is, and if they don't like it, tough shit.
Well, it's like that guy that wanted to have that after-school program at the bus stop. You know, man, I tell you what, every Christian in town jumped out to ride him in the ground.
Threatening to kill him, telling him to kill himself.
You talking about? Oh yeah, why? What was the deal?
Well, you gotta, I think that's a real
freedom of religion, unless it's not your religion.
That's a real test in Americanism. We have freedom of religion. Mm-hmm. We're all different, and freedom of religion doesn't mean that you're free to be Baptist. It means that everyone is free to believe or not believe. And that sometimes gets lost.
Well, that's because you have these constitutional experts that barely got through high school that they... do you remember... You weren't here, I don't think, Rannie, when we had this kid in Liberty that was graduating from high school, remember? And he said the Lord's Prayer.
That happens all the time.
Said the Lord's Prayer at the graduation. And what happened is he was there and the parents were watching and he had his speech approved and they were very clear. Listen, you can't do this because it's illegal. No problem, I won't do it. So the first thing he does, of course he does that. These people freaked out when he was shut down. Now, I would say, what if there was a kid up there and he started doing a Muslim prayer? Can you imagine these parents in the crowd?
Well, they
would have lost their minds.
Exactly.
And I've said this several times. I'm Christian. I go to church.
I am too.
And here, but I understand the difference between church and state. And every time that David Root gets up at a county council meeting and offers a prayer,
I don't know how the hell he can do that. But hey,
well, here's the thing. It's fine that he says if you'd like to pray with me, pray with me. But what happens if the dude from Major League comes in and says he wants to offer an offering to Joe Boo and cut a chicken's head off, start slinging blood all over the room, and we got to allow that to happen too.
So you're absolutely right.
I'm okay with that.
And the thing, but nobody else would be, and that's where the rub is, and where it would be, and the thing of it
Cathy,
is you've got church to do your praying. And that is county to do county business is the way I feel about it.
Well, it's like the at James Brown they have the after school program,
which is great. My dad helps with that. My dad helps with that.
My son's a part of it. But when you have those things,
you have to open it for other things too.
Let's just hope and pray that no one else wants to bring in a program. because that's going to be kind of harmful to everyone.
I don't know. I go pray in the woods. That's my church.
Well,
Yeah.
you know
I
what?
mean, I go to church, but my church is in the woods.
So let me work this into the program for 4 seconds. But then again, we have a guy on the planning commission that uses anti-Semitic slurs, has used it against me, and we got a county attorney that protects him doing that. Think about that. Not only is that discrimination, but they can do that. Imagine that.
Well, the thing about, but our county council, the leader of the county council, very in tune with spiritual things.
You mean the homophobic one that puts the memes up against gay people?
Well, the one that said the devil made him send pictures and text to another woman.
Right.
So, but I wonder if that group down there at the bus station, if they would be able to tell us if the devil really did make it.
You know they don't worship the devil, right?
I understand.
Well, this is he's the one that's got that.
It's just for the shock factor.
Isn't he the one that has the Mountain Rest precinct, the GOP precinct?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
That one that says, in the U.S., you're free to live as you wish unless you're white. Ooh, discrimination against white people. Straight, Republican, a gun owner, or Southern. And then at the top, you can add Christian and male to that list. Okay, folks.
Yeah, because they're all
the Mountain Rest
being
GOP
tormented.
district where the councilman
So do you
runs the
think?
county goes.
So the party of Lincoln that freed the slaves, the Republican Party. Do you think that the GOP in Mountain Rest is celebrating Black History Month in the month of February?
No. I don't know that. Well, they have an American flag there. I think
with
is that an American flag? I can't see it.
No, that would.
Oh, wait a minute.
No.
with their white nationalist tattoos that they
I'm
got
just
going
saying.
on.
I'm just
I mean,
saying.
no, I don't think so.
The party of Lincoln, the ones that freed the slaves. I'm just saying, I don't think that they're going to be participating in Black
I
History
invite
Month.
you to look at their pictures and check out some of their tattoos.
Right.
So,
let's move
we're
on
in February. Let me ask one thing, Randy. We're in February.
Right.
You know, the Journal's going to end up endorsing somebody for the election, right? Coming up.
Yeah,
we got so Sue.
They do that? The paper endorses somebody?
No, they
on their
will.
own?
They will. Now, they like Sewer South, so I want to make sure. I want to see them get
Kinda
boxed
janky.
in if they're going to endorse Durham, because here you go, folks. That's exactly.
I'll tell you
it is.
what. I'll tell you what the Journal did when Jeff, before he left the show, when he was running, they didn't necessarily endorse his opponent, but they sure put all of Jeff's business in the paper.
I don't believe that. They wouldn't do
So-
that, would they?
So when you've got Durham, and you've
I'm
got
shocked.
Miss Lancaster
You know
running,
who wouldn't do that? The Kiwi Curry.
right? But you've got Durham and Miss Lancaster running. I just wonder which dirt the Journal's going to dig up.
Well, you know what, though? When you say that, I'm shocked, but I shouldn't be, considering how many years I spent in corporate America. And when I talked about due diligence for Sewer South, the Journal went on the page and started trashing me, saying I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Yeah, right, guys. Okay.
So let's
Sad.
talk about Seneca Creek.
Oh, yeah. You know what? There's $4 million. So what does that mean? Hey, nobody.
Where exactly is Seneca Creek?
And there's
where is that going in
Where all the
at?
student housing is,
Yeah.
Kathy. Isn't that what it is?
No,
there's,
student housing is that down near the drive-in.
No, but
That they
this
were
is
talking
for
about.
this pumping station, right?
So
I had the article.
behind
Near
the
the
it's
airport.
over behind the airport.
Right.
The most dangerous road in the,
Right.
in the county. Okay, gotcha. Oh, okay, gotcha.
So this guy wants
It's
to put
almost
in
Clemson.
Yeah, almost
it's
Clemson.
basically
Yeah.
almost Clemson. It's like
Gotcha.
I
Seneca
drive
Creek,
there.
yeah. Gotcha.
But this guy had
The
come to the
Seneca Creek pump station.
Right. Well, so the issue with this Seneca Creek development is this guy came to county council last year
Yeah, and
and wanted a fee in lieu of agreement to,
And he got turned down.
and he was told no, and our county council said we're not going to give fee in lieu agreements to this, that, or the other, or most anything else. Well, then all of a sudden,
Unless you're manufacturing.
if manufacturing comes here, they're going to give them
And
everything.
then it doesn't matter. You could be making plastic widgets, and they'll be like, "Here you go, take some money."
Right. So
I mean,
now in the paper this week, the developer for Seneca Creek has decided he's going to just go ahead and pay for the sewer and run sewer all the way down there.
and reassess his 400 unit student housing.
Right.
There's
So-
no free lunch.
No,
You know what I mean?
there's
of course
not. Now,
There's
he-
no free lunch.
But here's the
So
thing.
what does he want? That's
But-
what I want to know.
Well, he doesn't want. He wanted the city and the county to put the sewer in for his development, and they said no. Now he's going to do it himself. But anybody that ties onto it,
I thought he offered to pay for the sewer before, but he wanted like a fee in lieu agreement for the taxes.
Right, but
Yeah.
now if he's going to pay for the sewer, people that tie onto it, every person that ties onto it, he's going to get a credit back.
See,
from
no
what-
free lunch.
Oh, he is?
He'd
Oh,
have
I
to.
missed that part.
Yeah,
That's probably a pretty good deal.
right. So he'll
Along
get,
with
but
maybe-
what that's going to do is now you've got this guy that's got more money than God probably that can build these student housing developments everywhere. You think that Seneca Creek's the only one he's doing? Oh, this guy he's out of Dallas, I think, and so at every major educational institution, he's developing student housing around there to make money.
Also Texas, huh?
Yeah.
The old
So,
Longhorns.
but here's the thing. He's going to be out there promoting business along his pipeline so that they all tie on. It's going to just continue to develop that area like you wouldn't believe.
Oh yeah.
With no zoning, it's going to be wonderful.
Right.
It's going to be Pigeon Forge Area A, and then we'll have Oakley, Pigeon Forge Area B.
You know what? You're probably
and
not
then we'll have
wrong.
Valhalla C.
Hey, look at this. The first industry to hook on the sewer south is going to be a VCR manufacturing business.
Actually, my dad. Are you talking about the tape VCR?
Yeah.
My dad just taught my niece, who's one, how to use a VCR yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
I'm telling
They're
you.
coming back.
They
They're
even have-
coming back.
they even have
Disney
timers
films,
in 'em.
VCR.
They have timers on them too.
Yeah, oh.
Yeah, you just do that.
So, but
You know, teaching the kids the old stuff.
the point of bringing up Seneca Creek is the county thought that by not giving this guy fee in lieu of would stop him from building student housing down next to Clemson. It didn't, and he's a real businessman that's done his due diligence, and he's gonna find a way to make even more money off the county.
We
Well,
are.
the thing of it is, and Morgan points this out, is that student housing actually creates jobs. So
Yeah.
they really kind of shot themselves in the foot over the not giving them a fee
Well-
in lieu of
well,
agreement because it creates jobs
Right.
just as much as any business would, if not more.
Well, there was a chicken farm equipment warehouse from Poland that's moving over there next to Horton, and it has 1,000.
So
it's like a
Poland's okay.
100,000
but
square foot
China's
facility.
not okay.
Right. It's a great
They
old
make
big
sausage?
great big warehouse to hold chicken farm equipment. It's going to have like 8 people in there working.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, the student housing, when you have all the contractors and the manager, the maintenance folks, and the business ladies and all that, you're probably going to have 25 or 30 people working and in a smaller area than you would have in a warehouse down at Golden Corner Commons.
You know what's sad. So when I presented and Rannie was with me, we're at the planning commission and we talked about hiring urban planners. I'm not talking about on the payroll. I'm talking about consulting companies too. What they're talking about. Oh, it's going to be so expensive. You Marxists, whatever. So here's the thing. Here we are. All this crap is going on around the county. We can't even keep up with it. And you could have spent the money for somebody that knew what the hell they were doing so we could, you're never, I don't care what anybody says, you're never going to stop growth. Doesn't mean you can't.
They've borrowed enough money to have paid for one.
Right. But
like 10 times now.
Right. But the point is, if you had the plan, then what you could do is you can do proper growth.
Absolutely.
You're not going to stop it proper, so you don't end up with the congestion. You don't end up overextending infrastructure. And we don't do it. It's just like it's crazy. We don't even know what the hell's going on anymore.
They don't want the answers.
No, they don't. It's too much work.
They don't. They don't want real answers.
They just want to make the money quick and get the hell. They want to go to Florida, probably, right? I bet they do.
And I have many friends, Floridians, that are fighting right now to save what is left. If you look at my Facebook, Instagram page, I actually put up a reel yesterday about Florida lands. Like I took videos of different like Everglades and different areas that Florida
They're
parts
fighting?
of Florida
What are they doing?
that haven't been developed yet.
What are they putting libraries there? Or?
No, more housing developments.
Oh.
More housing developments on
They don't have
farmland in
libraries there.
Florida. We do have libraries. We do have libraries.
Yeah, libraries.
So
We do.
You won't for long.
So they're just putting housing development
They're
after
gonna do
housing development after housing
Another
development.
Disney World.
And well, a lot of
Well,
native
Ron DeSantis
Floridians
said they
actually
couldn't do
don't
that.
like Disney
They
World.
couldn't do that.
Yeah, he put the kibosh
Oh,
on
God.
it.
Yeah, he doesn't
Now
like
that he's
libraries
dropped
either.
out, can you-
I got a
put
friend who
them poor
teaches
people in
there.
Florida, man, that guy's
Both
on
my
the
parents are
warpath.
teachers in Florida.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have to clean out their rooms and like turn in all their books? Because we got
No.
my daughter has a good friend that
So-
had to. She's a math teacher, no less, and like sent her video of having to turn in the books in her room.
Oh no, my
wow.
my dad's a science teacher. My mom's at elementary, and my sister's elementary.
Yeah, she had to
So-
turn in, but I don't know what county it was, but
So development is coming to Oconee County.
Oh, and it's coming fast. I saw one. When I saw one, I said, "Oh, it's coming." I saw one housing development. I said, "Oh, it's coming."
Now,
Oh, there's over
If-
25.
Well, when I first started seeing it, you know what I
and
mean?
watching the newspaper over the last week and a half, city of Walhalla, city of Westminster, city of Clemson, city of Seneca have all been having planning meetings to discuss the priorities for the future.
You know, I'm impressed
Well-
with what Westminster's doing.
Westminster and Walhalla, Seneca's doing great things. They all
Yeah.
are, but county doesn't have any plan for the future except for ordinance 2024-10. But and then I did read in the paper though that one of the things that was on the county's top 5 is a new airport terminal.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I heard
That
about
was that other capital projects.
Up
You
in
know
Mountain
how we didn't get any answers the other night, and they said the money was
So-
for other capital projects.
Right. So the Aeronautics Commission that hasn't met in like a coon's age finally met and discussed their priorities and stuff. And one of their priorities is to build a bigger terminal so that they can have more airplanes.
Who's chairman of that?
I'm not sure. But the thing about it is, if there are around 80 airplanes now that they house there all the time, if they get over 100 airplanes, they qualify for different federal funding. So if they can get to 100, they can get more money to get even bigger. Now that is a priority for the county,
Oh, man, they're
according to them.
They're going to gobble it. As they gobble it, they're going to say, "Oh, look at all these Democrats."
But we don't
giving our
want
money away."
grants. We don't want grants for greenways.
No.
But we'll take grants for bigger airport.
Well, sure.
Because that's exactly what we need is
Yeah,
a
because
bigger
so
airplane.
many of our citizens are using the airport.
Well, yeah. And all of a sudden you get an airplane fly off the end of the runway and go through Seneca Creek and kill a bunch of people. You know, that's a real big problem. But it's a problem coming because we ain't got no
Well,
zoning.
you know, Clemson uses the airport. So that's a priority.
Right. So let's talk about ordinance 2024. Chris, you got anything to say about it?
No, well, just remind me what it is. I was thinking about domestic violence.
Oh, well, let's talk about domestic violence while I find this.
Okay.
So,
We aren't fans of it.
Oh, well, I'm a survivor of domestic
Are you
abuse.
really?
I'm
I
so
am.
sorry.
So that's the reason I was saving it till this section. But that's why I moved to Oconee County, and that's why Oconee County is my safe haven, because I moved to Oconee County because I got divorced and I was being verbally, emotionally, and sexually abused by my ex-husband. So that's why I moved up this way. So yes, I'm not a fan of it. No, I was never hit. No, he never hit me or anything like that. But I have known people, other women who have been hit, and finally, after, just because they hit you doesn't mean that you're going to leave. They finally left after many broken bones. But yeah, so I have.
Well, a lot of people have been killed. And everything.
Yeah, so.
But our issue, well, obviously,
well,
we all have an issue.
as
about
being
it.
an ER nurse.
Yeah, oh, I see it all the time. I see it.
Could you give us a roundabout? How many times a week do you see it?
Probably every week. I see something, like I had someone come up to me the other day that was pregnant that said that their significant other was hitting them so they didn't want to lose the baby, but their significant other wanted them to lose the baby.
So what did they do? Call the police or what?
No, In the ER, yeah, we did. Once we found out what was really going
Well,
on.
it's so bad here in Oconee County. If you go to the emergency room, and Cathy, you've been there several times with your young man this week. I was in there with my diabetes back in October, and I went in the bathroom, and they got this sign on the wall. It says, "If you're being abused, move this sticker."
Oh, really?
And they go like, you go to the bathroom, somebody's going to go in there behind you to see if you moved the sticker.
Yeah.
That tells me that we've got a huge problem in Oconee County with domestic violence, and I hope that your partner, your husband now is.
Oh no, my
is
my
a
husband
great
now is
person,
amazing, and he has had to help me work through
Right.
different things that I've had to work through. I used to have
But when
like
you say
nightmares and
when-
PTSD.
But when you say you came here to
Yes.
a safe haven,
Yes.
I don't know how safe it really is here.
Well-
and I think nationally it's probably a huge problem.
Oh, yeah, it
and,
is.
And it's just
We are actually years ago we were like the capital of women being murdered by men, and that is no lie. We were number one in the nation for women being murdered by men. I mean, we have a very high domestic abuse rate.
we've got we're sanctuary for life or whatever. We're Second Amendment sanctuary, but we're missing the boat when we're not a domestic violence sanctuary. Why could we not write as a county council a resolution against domestic violence in Oconee County
Or even
and take a stand
or denounce it.
Yeah, just take a stand against it.
Well, I think we know the elephant in the room there. We here again we've got white nationalists in charge, and they're all about being browbeaters and being
You can
bullies.
add Christian and male to that list. Yeah, it's all about the male.
Well, Christian white nationalists, and that just seems to be a trend. And it's not only a problem in the South; it's a growing problem nationwide.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go.
And it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
men or
matter
women.
where you go.
Nobody should have the shit beat out of them.
No,
Because it's just
no,
a power
and
play. It's all
I'll
it
tell
is.
you, there's men have been abused too.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
not a
But it's also
thing.
more than just being hit. There's other ways of being
Emotional.
abused.
Absolutely.
There's other ways of being abused.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And financially, I mean, there
Oh,
are
yeah,
people.
add that one to the
there,
list.
there are people who like cut people off, and they can't financially function or have no other means of support, and can't leave if they want to, and that's a form too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you deal
there's-
with it for a while. I don't know if anyone else here has been abused by spouses or who knows what, but you have to go through a process to heal from that. And even then you have triggers that you're like, oh wait, let me process this real quick. This is not what's really happening.
Yeah.
It's a trigger that
Yeah.
happened. And you have to, I used to wake up in cold sweats and be like, oh my gosh, oh my
Well,
gosh.
we have a group
Yeah.
here called a Call to Action.
Yeah.
Do you know about it?
No, I actually don't.
Okay, so it's a big group here. That's a big support group, and they have functions, and they help with. It's just something that you ought to look it up.
I have
They
to
really-
look, I've never heard of it actually.
Yeah, call to action. I can give you that information.
Okay.
I did interviews with these people.
Oh, really?
And with domestic survivors. And the problem, one of the gaps we saw is like Rannie had talked about in the hospital. The problem is it's fine to pull the chain, but this one woman I interviewed went to the hospital. They came in. She'd been beaten with a gun, had her kids there and all that, and when the cops came, took the record, they went and arrested the guy, and then she didn't even have a car. Didn't have any place to go. She couldn't go back to her house. There was no process in place like A, B. These are the things, and here are the group. Nobody talked
The groups
to her
or
about
the
any
resources.
Absolutely, think about that.
I don't believe we did have a home.
Yeah.
A shelter for women.
Well, and there is one, and this lady named Charity in West Union is putting it together. She's having a Mardi Gras party to kind of get some funding to help her out. That's coming up, and I'll post that on Facebook more about her Mardi Gras.
Good.
It's like she does Low Country Bowl for everybody, and it's like $30, and they have raffles and silent auctions and stuff. But yeah, they're starting to become more and more places for folks in that domestic violence situation to get
Yeah.
away.
It's a big
Thank
problem in the
goodness.
county.
It is, and the thing is that a lot of the men will say, "Well, you can't find anything better than me, right? You can't get out of the situation because you're never going to find anything better than me. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what. Listen, you will find something better, or living by yourself
Is way better.
is way better than living in
Yeah.
domestic abuse. Even if
Yeah.
I had to sleep on a floor for 5 months,
Yeah.
okay, like that was better for
In your
me
car.
than living in the situation
Yeah.
that I was living in.
Absolutely.
So even if you have to sleep on a floor and work 3 jobs to make it, that is more freedom than living in domestic abuse.
Absolutely.
So if you're in that situation, if at all possible, get out.
Absolutely.
Right.
And as a Christian woman, for me, there is a stigma about divorce, right?
There is.
There is a
There
stigma
is.
about it. But I will tell
Big
you
time.
that, and I understand working through your marriage, and I understand that, but there gets to be a point where there's no working through it anymore.
But there's deal breakers.
There's deal breakers. And another part to that, too, like a lot of women feel like they're like used goods now. No. You have worth, you have value.
I always said the deal breakers are cheaters and beaters.
Yeah.
Those are things that people don't get over.
Oh yeah, I had that too, you know,
Yeah.
cheating and stuff. But like you are not trash because
No.
you went through this situation and you got divorced or whatever.
Right.
Well,
Like you have worth, you have
a shame.
value.
That's a shame on them, not a shame on you.
Right.
That's the way I look
and
at
that's,
it.
And this call to action, I mean, you've got experience with it, be something that you ought to look into because it sounds like you could really help some people. Randy, do we want to talk about the food line incident?
Yeah, I've been struggling with that because I found out earlier today that I actually know the lady that got ran over. I've had
Really?
dinner with her, and that was that kind of. I was at a funeral today with the American Legion, and her husband is a member of the American Legion, and I got Christmas parties and things like that, and Monday meetings. They're always there. 79 years old. Lived a very long life and got ran over by both sets of tires on a car by someone who was impaired in the parking lot of the food line.
Food line. You know,
That's
the
terrible.
thing about it is, people walking in like Walmart or whatever, they do have the right of way as they cross. But what people need to understand is they need common sense. If you're going to a grocery store, Lowe's, or any of these places, you have people around. You have children around. You don't go in there like, hey, you know what? I'm not in the pedestrian right of way. I'm going to come in there at 25 miles. I've seen it. I've almost gotten hit. And I can tell you with this poor lady, and people don't like to admit it, as you get older, you don't move as fast. I'm hearing impaired. Hell, I can't hear.
But this lady that was driving went through the food line parking lot like it was Death Race 2000.
Exactly.
Now, and I've had some conversations this week, and I'm trying to be understanding that maybe she wasn't impaired by drugs or alcohol, but maybe it was medication. Who knows? The jury's still out there. That DUI is a very broad thing.
It is. It could be.
But
it
here's
could
the
be
thing.
a medication.
But here's the thing: if there's a medication that says "do not drive heavy equipment"
Yeah.
while you're taking this, well, that 2,000-pound car is heavy equipment, and you shouldn't be driving and taking that.
I can tell you as a nurse, when I'm giving someone a medication that does that, like a prescription, I am very clear. Do not drive. Do not drive a tractor. Do not drive a lawn-powered lawnmower. Do not drive any of that if you are on this type of medication.
Right.
But think about this.
And Sean
Think about
Johnson.
Like, I don't care. If
Real
you're
quick.
driving it, don't do it.
Real quick, back to the domestic violence stuff.
Yeah.
Sean Johnson just posted the link
call to action.
Oh,
to call
okay.
to action on the show. So if you're out there
Thank you.
looking, we'll
Thank
leave
you.
it up. And thank you very much, Sean. We appreciate that. But yeah, driving impaired. Why? Why do that?
But this is, I agree. You think about this, and then I want to just leave it with one thing. Think about her husband. You know, I mean, that his whole life is torn apart.
Well, he's like he's like 84.
Let's look, and I'm going to reserve judgment because I don't know, and I was not there. And the lady who was driving was also an elderly lady, so
Well, she was 11 years younger.
She lived a lot younger
She
than
was
me.
a senior
No, she was
citizen.
60-something.
66.
Hell, that's a kid.
That's an elderly person, y'all. That's I mean,
But-
she was
but the-
66.
but-
She's an elderly
but-
person. And you know, we don't know. She could have been tossing back bourbon and Coke. I don't know. Y'all don't know.
Which
so
Coke?
what I'm saying is having worked in pharmacy, having worked in the court system, she could have been taking something for diabetic neuropathy and it's gonna say DUI. It could have been something she's been taking for 20 years that wasn't even a controlled substance 20 years ago, but because she's taking it, she's gonna get a DUI.
But you do agree.
There's not enough information for us to
Right,
discuss
but there is
this.
enough information to talk about people that drive like a bat out of hell in a
But we
parking
don't
lot.
even know that
No,
she
no,
was
no.
driving like a bat out
I
of
didn't
hell.
say. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about. I see it.
We can talk about people driving bad in a parking lot.
Exactly.
So,
There you go.
but this is not the first time someone has gotten killed in a parking lot in Seneca.
It's not the first time.
I was 2019, I believe, or 2020. There was a 65-year-old lady got ran over in the Home Depot parking lot.
Yeah.
And she got ran over at 3:00 on Friday, and it was back open for business by 7 before they closed at 9.
That's
like it never
ridiculous.
happened. They just scrape her on up and get her on out of there.
I had a guy hit my shopping cart when I was walking out of Aldi's one day, and then he came around the parking
Did
lot.
you
and
get
I was-
your quarterback?
No. Well, yeah, I did. But the point is, then he comes around and he's, oh, you should have watched. I said, hell, I'm walking out. It's so easy for somebody that's not on anything. It's like, guys, all we ask is this. Think a little bit. Think about.
You have to be careful.
Well-
and I can also see somebody who's had a stroke or somebody who's not paying attention stepping off a curb in front of somebody too.
Or they're looking
you
at their
have
phone.
to, or they're
But-
looking at
And
their
you-
phone or
and you're
anything.
Right, and you're right. And at the end of the day, dead's dead.
Yeah, and
Well,
you have to pay attention to what you're doing.
And do you think that this development issue that we're facing right now
It's gonna make things
bringing
worse.
40,
Oh my God.
50, 60, 70,000 more people here?
Wait till they put that Neiman Marcus store in.
Well, but it's going to
Or
be
that
even
shopping
worse.
center next to Walmart.
Yeah, Neiman Marcus.
Oh, is
Fif-
that going in there?
50 stores going over
Is
there.
it really 50?
Yeah, that's what it's 50
Y'all
units.
get ready.
Well, I mean,
Traffic's gonna be fantastic. I'm excited.
it's going to be
Just
something.
wait till we get the coupons.
Ooh, the coupons.
But
Oh.
but the thing about it though is with this new ordinance 2024-10, we're not going to be able to raise the taxes to keep up with the growth, so that we can pay for the responders we need.
I bet that's Elliot putting that, right?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, was it? Who was it?
No. Well, there's only one. There's only
You're
one.
gonna need more responders.
There's only one person on county council that's allowed to make any decisions, and he said he can make those decisions.
Oh,
no
it's
one else
Glenn.
can. No, it's not Glenn.
Well, I can tell you.
Glenn
being
doesn't
a-
even know where he's at most of the time.
Oh, I know who it is. It's the guy that's going to give us these
I've never-
$83,000 a year jobs on the low end.
But let's talk about Glenn for a moment. How's he supposed to be the best surveyor in the county when he don't even know where he's at most of the time?
Why is he get lost? He got GPS.
I mean, I'm just saying. Only thing he knows how to do is unwrap candy.
Well, I do want to say, as being a former EMS worker, you are going to need more EMS workers. There's not enough in the county.
No,
there's just
there's
not.
not.
Even at Oakway, we got one truck for 12 hours,
I
and the
can
rest
tell
of
you,
us are
we
volunteers.
were in the ER
Well,
the
Glenn
other
knows
day.
that.
Oh, does he?
Glenn knows that
Oh,
because
well.
he had to wait, remember? When
Yeah,
Glenn Hart-
he did. He
There's
had
not
to,
enough EMS.
he
fire.
had to call, but he needed an officer, and it took 45. No, that was Frankie. Frankie was the one that went to the county council and complained.
Sorry,
because
Glenn. I retract that. Don't sue me.
it was Frankie needed
Frankie Pearson.
made a call, and it took 45 minutes for someone to respond to get to his house.
Well, the problem is-
45 minutes.
Right.
That's a long time.
But the problem is, you're
is a long
not planning for that.
All right, so in this 2024-10 ordinance, I want to read this. Any increase in the general fund of the county's annual budget measured from one fiscal year to the next is limited to the amount that is equal to or less than the percentage reflecting the county's population growth, as measured by the percentage change in the population of the county from the previous year, as determined by the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office, plus inflation as measured by a percentage change in the consumer price index from the previous year as determined by the South Carolina Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Office. Now, that sounds very conservative. But really what it's saying is we cannot anticipate growth because if we've got 1,000 houses being built and nobody's in them, well, that doesn't count until the next year. Now, the next year, the people are here, and we haven't collected any money, so we can't pay for any of the resources we need to service those people.
Hey, man, I don't know what to say. You got theoretically, these places that are going to be built, these plants. You know what, this is just, hey, guys, this is just Looney Tune, that's all it is. It's very frustrating to me because you got people that think they know more than the people that are expert that they
Now
can
listen
get
to
free
this.
resources.
Now listen to this. To address an emergency or exigent circumstance that is outside of the control of the county council, like they control anything. They haven't been able to control anything, such as a natural disaster, severe weather event, an act of God, an act of terrorism, fire, war, riot, or other similar event. They'll just throw their rule out the window. So no need to save for a rainy
But
day.
They get to determine that.
Right.
What's an act of God and what's
But
terrorism and what's
if you look in exemption C, to comply with a court order or decree. So if someone sues them to change it, then they'll have to change it.
Yeah, that's what if it's found to be illegal, so they don't know, they're not sure.
Right.
That was the clause that I liked.
That's what that's for. You can hit the table.
Right. So
I agree.
in order to effectively capture or not lose by operation of time any needed available millage increase under the state millage cap. So he wrote all that stuff and then he put all these exceptions in there. So it's like I wrote this really, really nice thing, except for all
Just
these
kidding.
exceptions make it worthless.
Yeah, just kidding.
So that's just like when the Republicans tried to give him an award for writing this budget that saved $7 million.
Oh, that's right.
And then turned around and his budget cost the county $283,000 more than it did the year before.
But Randy, when you talk
And it's going to
about
cost
this,
us $50 million.
So this guy likes to type more than Tony Adams,
Well, yeah,
just
but-
to hear himself type.
But here's the thing. You talk about it being conservative. What is that conservative? What does that mean? I mean, that's not, it's whatever they want to call it.
Right.
Like planning theoretically is not conservative. Yet all these major cities, these red cities do it, right? So what does it mean? It's all crap. Is
Hey,
what
but
it is.
what I was always taught, if you fail to plan or you plan to fail,
Yeah.
bottom line is, with no plan, it's going to be a disaster.
Well, yeah, but you had responsibility for that. They've never had any
Oh,
responsibility.
I agree. It's all comes down to juvenile leadership.
Yeah.
And this guy wants to get reelected.
But when you get a job where you do this, on, off, on, off. There you go.
So Sean Johnson says June primaries this year are the most important elections in the county's history. I hope the newcomers running for office have their campaign teams in place and have a game plan for how to win in June 2024.
God, I
You
hope
and
so.
me too, brother. Woo! So I have seen a lot of candidates out, and they're doing a good job.
Hey, what about this sewer south? These sewer south meetings. As we're starting to wind this up. Remember, it's February 8th is the first one.
Right.
I think that's when we'll.
Are we going to learn anything? Or is it just going to be more as clear
yeah,
as
but
mud?
I don't think it's run by the county, is it?
So these meetings coming up are not ran by the county.
No, who's
and these
doing-
are I don't know who's behind them. I
I'm
read
going.
who was. So go ahead.
I'm going to go.
Yeah, I'm
and I'm
going.
only going to ask one question. What's the payback?
Right. Well, there is
What due
none.
diligence? It doesn't matter. I want to hear it. Everybody avoids that question.
Listen,
I want to hear.
here's the thing about.
I want people to tell me they didn't do jack
Chris,
shit.
So we got to wrap this up. But here's the thing. That bond was a general obligation bond. They got the bond because they have the ability to and authority to tax the citizens. That's why they got the bond. It wasn't a revenue bond, which meant that the revenue from whatever they built with it was going to pay it back. This is a general obligation bond. This was designed to be on the backs of the taxpayers by your conservative-led council.
Right.
So that right there was the most socialist thing that could have ever happened.
It was, but I'll tell you something else. Now, I don't know if I can say this on the air, but now that we own it, Jeff's not the boss of me anymore. What happened is we got this $25 million in debt. Did you get a kiss when they got that?
Because anything.
No, you didn't even get a kiss. And you're getting screwed.
They didn't even scratch me on the chest from around my back.
No, not at all. They didn't kiss you and you're getting screwed. You watch.
But that's the thing. They know that it's not going to pay for itself.
Not at all.
And only a couple of their friends are going to get richer and shit, and they're going to die because they're old. They're retired. They already ripped McDonald's off, right? Well, it's over. So they're
I
going
missed that, but it's got to be good. I got to go listen to it tonight.
But those guys are going to make some money, pass away. Their kids are going to spend it like they've never seen money before, buying everything from Temu, just like you, Chris. And it's going to be gone. And they'll be living in a single wide trailer down there going, man, I hate all these people moved in here and bought my daddy's place that I sold them.
And I know we're going to wrap this up, but you know the difference? I didn't grow up here, but I actually give a shit about my fellow citizens that are natives and non-natives.
But I want everybody to hear me
say... And that's why I'm telling you guys, because you're getting screwed, and these guys are lying to you.
I'll be old enough. Kathy will be old enough. Hannah, you'll be old enough. Alan will still be around.
Now, you live in Long Creek, maybe not.
But here's the thing.
You might be gone before me.
20 years from now, 12 or 13 families down there in Fairplay are going to make some money.
That's right.
The patriarchs of those families are going to be dead and gone. The money's going to be gone. The people that had got the money from the patriarchy are going to be living in single-wide farms, single-wide homes.
Yeah.
And they're going to be complaining about all the people that moved in here and bought all
moved somewhere else.
And bought all the
with their money.
Bought all the property from their parents and have changed the county.
All I ask.
But it's not their fault.
Right. But all I ask before we wind the show up, if I'm in a nursing home, you give me a microphone so I can say, I told you so.
That's right.
Dad, you say, so Chris told you so.
That's what he's going to say on his tombstone.
So.
I told you so.
Right. Yep.
There you go. So we get to go around the table.
We're going to go around the table. So, Chris, why don't you start?
We each get 15 minutes. Okay. So
we got 15 minutes. So I'm ready.
Okay, guys.
I'm ready.
I don't really have anything. All I'm going to tell you is, this is not. You're not being told the truth. You are being fed a line. It doesn't make sense, and we're telling you this, and it's too late. But you need to really start paying attention, because the only thing these guys listen to is when citizens come in and start telling them to. Thanks. That's it.
Kathy?
Yeah, I was just going to tell you that my little guy had to be in the ER, and there was not a single solitary open spot. So, our infrastructure is at the breaking point. So, it's only going to get worse, guys. So just bear that in mind, and I hope you have a good week. Just keep your eyes peeled.
Hannah, I just want to say thank you very much
welcome.
for
Thank
coming. You added so much value to the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm glad you finally found the compound. I know it's hard to find.
The bat cave.
Yeah.
So, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I have a couple. He told me I had 15 minutes, so I'm ready to go.
Take your time.
Oh, that's okay. He's got to switch. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, one, I just want people to, if they have a problem with what's going on in the county and what they see, to speak up. Even if you can't speak up in person, email, text, call, whoever you need to do that to, so that you get your voice heard about what's going on before it's completely too late. Because I started seeing it and I said, oh, here we go, guys. Wake up, wake up, wake up to what's going on. Also, the infrastructure, like Cathy said, coming from a medical background. I was an EMT, I still am an EMT. There's not enough. And unfortunately, With that, they don't. And I know I worked for an entity in Anderson County for 3.5 years before I became a nurse. They don't get paid enough for what they do. They don't have the retirement for what they do. During COVID, I was making under $12 an hour. How can we recruit qualified, professional individuals that work for the medical personnel that you all look for, high qualified people, if we're not taking care of them and providing proper pay for them, proper education, and proper benefits?
Oh,
you're talking to the majority on the council that's opposed to it.
Yeah, so I would work the truck for 12 hours and then go to a restaurant at night to work to make my bills.
Wow.
Okay, so I've worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time. I became an ER nurse not only because I love medicine and I love helping people, but unfortunately I could not stay an EMT, even a paramedic. I know now in Anderson County, people with tons of experience as a paramedic are getting paid maybe $20 an hour, $22 an hour, right? That to some people seem like a lot of money, and I understand it, but for what they do and the knowledge and the responsibility they have, it's not enough.
Right.
And so Oconee County, I don't know what they're paying their individuals now, since, wages and stuff have gone up, but so has inflation.
Yeah.
And so if you want properly qualified people, you have to pay them properly. Even nurses, doctors, techs, all those people.
That's right.
We need a bigger hospital. I know Oconee expanded, but we need that too.
So you're absolutely right. And we talk about that on here all the time. And thank you so much again for bringing it up.
Mhm.
And my closing thoughts are, primaries are coming in June. We got a lot of candidates out there. We got a lot of people supporting candidates. And to the candidates, I want to say this to you. You can tell a lot about the candidates by who's supporting them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right?
Good one, Randy.
So make sure you're
That's
not
true.
taking support from the wrong people. All right? And with that, I want to say good night.
Oh,
Remember
look at the curtain.
Remember our copyright. You can't use this without asking. All right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby.
All right. Good night.